For some time now, those wanting to get behind the wheel of a brand new electric car in the United States have been offered a generous incentive for doing so, up to $7,500 in federal income tax credits that can be used against your year-end tax bill, effectively slashing the car's sticker price by a pretty decent amount. That is, of course, if your tax liability is more than $7,500 at the end of the year. Available since the start of 2010, the federal tax credit for electric vehicles often pairs up with individual state incentive programs, not only making electric vehicle ownership something of a no-brainer for those in electric car-friendly states, but also making entry-level electric cars not much more expensive than similarly-specced internal combustion engine cars. Yet these tax credits will soon be going away. No, not as part of a change in policy in the White House, but under the terms the incentive program was initially established with, which means, say some sources, that electric car sales will fall off the metaphorical cliff as a consequence. Or will they? Stick around to find out more. Hi there everyone, I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield from Transport Evolved, and today we're going to be discussing the generous US federal tax credit program that's been operating now for the past 7 and a bit years and helps knock off up to $7,500 off the price of a new plug-in car. Originally brought to force during the early years of the Obama administration, the program offered those buying a qualifying electric vehicle or plug-in hybrid the capability to write up to $7,500 off their taxes at the end of the year, and has been instrumental in helping accelerate electric vehicle adoption rates. But under the terms of the original agreement, the amount of tax credit begins rolling back from the maximum amount to zero when each automaker in the US has sold its 200,000th qualifying vehicle on a per automaker basis. And with some automakers like Nissan, General Motors and Tesla rapidly approaching their 200,000th qualifying plug-in car sale in the US, we're going to see those tax incentives start to vanish. So what then? Well, if automotive research firm Edmunds is to be believed, sales of plug-in vehicles will come crashing down as soon as the federal tax credits start to fall off, with buyers unwilling to stomach the additional price that these cars would cost without incentives. Its reasoning? Well, that's exactly what happened in the state of Georgia when sales of electric vehicles tumbled from a high of more than 4% to under 1% within the state when it ended its electric vehicle incentive program in mid-2015, charging electric car owners an additional registration fee for driving a plug-in car instead. As the folks at Electrek pointed out yesterday, however, it's worth noting that while sales of the Nissan Leaf tanked completely after the end of the Georgia tax credit, sales of the BMW i3 and Tesla Model S, more expensive, higher-end cars, stayed pretty stable. Sadly, however, Nissan Leafs accounted for most of the new cars sold in Georgia before the end of the tax credits there, which explains the dramatic drop in electric vehicle market share. Well, what does this mean for the rest of the US? Well, if everything were to remain the same, it suggests that sales of more affordable electric cars will fall when the federal tax credit program starts to roll off after 20,000 electric cars have been made by each of the various automakers. But here's the important thing. While the state of Georgia ended all electric vehicle incentives at the same time, the federal tax credits for electric vehicles are calculated for each and every automaker. And while Nissan, GM and Tesla may end up reaching their respective 200,000th plug-in cars first, other automakers will not have reached anywhere near the cutoff anytime soon. And as such, this means that some automakers will still be able to continue to offer the federal tax credit long after others can't. And that's going to do something very interesting. Either it's going to shift the balance of electric vehicle market share from one automaker to another, or it's going to force automakers who've hit that milestone early to leverage economies of scale to lower the total sticker price for their electric cars. You see, some analysts and commentators postulate that the federal tax credit has been artificially keeping costs for plug-in cars high. And while we've seen the cost of plug-in cars gradually fall over the past 7 years or so, the suggestion is that they haven't fallen as fast as perhaps they might if the incentives weren't available at all. That suggestion, however, does forget the basic, undeniable fact that for now, it costs automakers more to make an electric car than it does an internal combustion engine vehicle, partly because of the extra investment needed, but primarily because of the cost of the battery packs that each and every plug-in car need to function. That said, I'm someone who likes to think that the progress that electric vehicles have made around the world means that we're unlikely to see a rollback to pre-EV days just because federal tax credits are due to end. Indeed, because those credits will expire slowly and on a per automaker basis, I think we're more likely to see the price of plug-in cars fall as competition and economies of scale keep automakers competitive. But there's something else here. Elsewhere in the world, electric cars are being ever more aggressively pushed, and well, America isn't the only market for these vehicles. And since any automaker making a big investment in electric vehicles wants that investment to be paid back as soon as possible, it makes no sense at all that automakers would ignore a prospective market just because incentives are less than they once were. Finally, there's the matter of the Tesla Model 3, the GM Chevrolet Bolt EV, and the upcoming next-generation Nissan Leaf, all of which will offer super 200-mile range and sub $40,000 price tags. While that's more expensive than some other cars out there, all three models represent how far the cost of electric vehicles have dropped in recent years, and moreover, how far prices can fall for electric cars in the future. With that taken on board, I think it's highly unlikely that we'll end up with electric car sales trickling to a halt just because federal tax incentives are slowly running out. After all, they're following the plan that the federal government laid out more than 7 years ago, and thus far, the prices of electric vehicles are falling as expected, and so the incentives are less needed. Yes, there may be a small dip, but ultimately it's my hope that economies of scale, healthy competition, and improving specification means that electric cars will continue to be sold with or without incentives. Do you agree? Will electric car sales survive the gradual expiration of the federal tax credits, or are these credits essential to ensure that people continue to buy plug-in cars? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit the notification bell too, so you don't miss a single video. If you'd like to see more videos from Transport Evolved, meanwhile, please consider supporting me through Patreon. There's a link below and one that you can click at the end of the video. And I'll be back tomorrow with more clean, green awesomeness. Until then, I'm Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield. Thanks for watching, and as always, keep evolving.